Hello, boys and girls of YouTube. I'm not sure if this is actually going to help anyone or not, but for me, it made coding a lot easier for my lights anyway. So, what you're actually looking at, if you're familiar with Excel at all, obviously is an Excel spreadsheet. And I kind of set some of it up already, just so this wasn't a half an hour long video. But what I actually used Excel for was to code the lights. Now, with Mission Pinball Framework and Fast, there's a specific, um, I guess, code that you need to do to make sure it works. And there's a couple different parts. The first part, if you look over to the left, it says light name. You need a name for each individual light. So this is kind of what I just threw up there real quick. It kind of matches some of the lights I'm going to use. Some of them I just made up just for the demonstration purposes. And the next field is B field here, or column. Text for code, I'll get back to that and I'll show you that in a little bit and why I put that there. And the next is the code name. So this is the part that really is the part that's saving time by using Excel. And if you can see, number, playfield has a dash, then a bank, then another dash, and then position in the bank. Well, these fields basically make up this field. And then there's a code in here. So if you kind of click on that, you see there's a code. That basically copies all these fields into this field and just makes it one, one long text info box, I guess, whatever. But the part that I saved me time was actually just writing all this code, because basically you just have to type all this and make code, but you're doing, in some cases, 200 lights, and you have to kind of number each light based on a bank. So when I use Fast's product, here, let me kind of go over to that image, hopefully. And forgive, this is just in Paint. I didn't open it up in anything else. So basically, this is a light map of where my lights are going to be positioned on the play field. If you go back to videos, it kind of talk to this a little bit more, so I'm not going to go into major detail, but basically this is where all my lights are going to be set up. And Fast has an expansion board that will manage the lights. So basically it has 4 different inputs for lights, and each input, I think it's 32, can handle 32 lights. So this one will have 4, like I mentioned. I'm using all 4. And some of them have 23 lights, some of them might have 30 lights on my setup, but I basically mapped it out. And when I actually start building the play field and lights being placed, those will help me map how my wires are going to be routed, and how they're going to be hooked up, because that's kind of important. So um, let's just take this one red line right here. It says, it's meant to be expansion 1. This is the line to the first light, and that first light is going to be basically labeled, um, 1-1. So basically, it's the, first input on the expansion board. So it's going to be 1, and position is 1. So let me go back to the Excel spreadsheet, and basically that's what this is. So that expansion board also for Fast needs to actually be named. So I just named it Playfield for this instance. I think in the actual pinball machine it probably will be named the same thing. I probably will have a second one that'll be named, I think it's going to be in the back box, so it'll probably be like back box. But what you basically do, and it makes life a little bit easier, is to use Excel to code or develop this code name. And let me do that and show you what I mean. So I'm going to have 4 banks, so I'm going to just do 1, and I filled it in, and you see how it populated over there. So I'm going to do 2, and maybe I'll only do 2, and maybe I'll do 3. But either way, so that took 30 seconds to build that part of it, and we'll do, whoops, 3. And go, whoops, didn't capture that right, but that's all right. We'll just undo that, and now we'll go back down. All right, so let's assume those are all the lights I just have, and those, for this demonstration purposes, three sections. So now you can make it real easy. We just need a dash between the name and the first bank. So I got a dash in there ready, so I can just click on that and drag it down, and it'll put a dash all the way in and all the way down. 1, 2, 3. So the next section, same thing. Now this is a little bit different because you need an individual position in the bank. So position 1, like I said before, it's bank 1, position 1. So I need a 2. And then the rest is easy to do because I can just drag it down, and I'm going to stop at the last one. So, and it all automatically goes from 1, 2, 3 in this demonstration, just 14. So assume I only had 14 lights on that particular bank. And the next section, do it again, just do 2, so this way it knows to then go to 3. So highlight all that, drag it down, and stop at the 2. So you see how it built, the part of the code. So it's bank 2, position 14, and then do the third bank. Again, 2, whoops, 2, highlight that, and drag it down. And now that one only had 8. So, but now you need to tell well, in the code, you need to say, hey, it's a number. So that's an easy thing. You'll see that code. So again, you just drag, whoops, and capture the right part. Drag it down, and it'll populate all that, and you'll see how it populated that. And actually, for this, if you're using fast products and you're coding it this way, there actually has a space between the number and playfield, the words, and the rest of it has dashes. But you do the same thing here, and populate that, and you pretty much this is the code you need. Now, again, this is technically not the text you're going to need, because if you just copy this, it's going to populate that. So what I usually do, and this is where this field comes in, text code, I'll copy that and just paste it special, and I'm going to put value, and basically it just puts text in there. So now it's just text. So this is really the pieces you need for the code. And let me show you that step now. So right now I've got, this is 60% of the code done. You just have to go in and add one more piece and then clean it up a little bit. So let me copy that. And for this demonstration purposes, I'm just using Note++. So paste that in there. And you see how it kind of is all over the place. Got to clean it up a little bit because technically it's fast is not going to, Mission Pinball is not going to be able to read this the right way. So there's 2 pieces you basically need to do. One, you need to tell it what type of light it actually is. And then 2, this can't really be on this lane, so you need to actually clean that up too. So I'm going to enter there. We're going to go over here, enter again, and then we're going to copy this and paste it here. And basically this is the code you're going to need, so you can do it again. So basically that's going to tell the system that, hey, you've got a name for your light, and this is the number for the fast expansion board, and this is the type of light it actually is. So what you do is just clean all that up. And for me, instead of typing all this out, it was much easier and faster if I just did it in Excel and then populated this and just cleaned up the code. It's a lot easier to clean up the code. And also it makes it a lot easier. Let's say, when you start building a machine and you need one more light, but that light is in the middle of the string. And what you'd have to actually do then is go back and type 90%, depending on where the the new light's going to be added, or you can add it to the end. But again, you got to remember the string needs to be, well, the lights need to be in order of this in the string. So they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you put something in the middle. You can number it 10 or whatever if that's the last one. But then you got to make sure you run the wire to that last, and it might not actually be the last in your line. So you're basically wasting a lot of wire if you have to, just can't splice it in the middle or whatever. But it's fine. If you want to do it that way, you can. It's I just found it easier because you can then save this Excel file. Let's say if I wanted to add another light in the middle of this, let's go in the middle. I'll insert a row. So let's say this is 2X light. 2C light. I just wanted to name it that. So I have to actually take the code and drag the code down. So that should do that. See how the code is there? And again, I can just put the number down because these are standard, just part of the code. And then drag that down again and drag this down again. Now, since this is just the first bank that I'm using, it's easy to just do that. Now, here's where it would be a problem. So you can like the last one would be 15. I can do that, and it'll do that. Whoops, 15. And that's fine. And you get the code you need, but you have to make sure when you wire it, this is the last one that you wire in. Now you can do that, but again, like I said, just waste a little wire, going to it, because it might not be in the middle of that. Let me show you what I mean by that. So let's say again, first string, and for whatever reason, I wanted to, put a light right there. Now it'd be easier just to, instead of running here's the end right here, running another thing to here, so you're wasting wire, you can just take this one and put it there instead, and then take that and put it to there instead. I don't know if you saw that down here. And yeah, it's about the same amount of wire. Maybe it's not, but this way you remember what you did without having to remember, because now it's just in the path of the wire. Instead of saying, oh yeah, that's still in the path. But let's say if you had more lights in there and it had to wire them again, it's really easy then just to go back, because you hopefully save this, and then just go back here again and just re-drag it down, and it renumbered everything, so you can just copy that back over. Do that, copy, paste, value, and you just copy that section of the code back into, why did that not work? Oh, because I copied it, I didn't copy it all the way down. That's why that didn't work. There you go. I copied it wrong. Copy. There we go. Much better. So again, at that point, you can copy this whole thing over again. Again, you have to go back and clean up your code again, but it's easier than, my opinion anyway, it's easier than rewriting all the code. Because you might skip it, you might forget it, and, when you relabel it, because you go back to the code. So let's say, again, it's not all cleaned up, but let's say I wanted to change this one. So it would now by the end, it would be easy. I can insert, whatever I wanted in there. So I just take that one. Which one was it? Don't even remember at this point. We'll just fake it. Oh, yes, I do. It was C. So you can just populate that back in there and then clean it up. Forgive me. And you can see I don't type that fast. That's why this was a big help to me doing it this way. All right, so as I was saying, to me, it makes it easier to actually, you know, paste, either that section in and just clean it back up, opposed to retyping, or again, you really just need to renumber, the last number in that bank. So let's, clean this up a little bit more, or give a little space. I'll show you an example. So let's say, I wanted to add a light in the middle here. Let's just copy this real quick. Pretend it's a different name. We'll do ball 3, 4 here. Oops. Why did that not work the way I wanted it to? That's right. I see what it did. And then you'd have to actually go in and go 4, whoops, 4, still messed that up, 4, 5, 6, 7. But for me, again, that was a perfect example of what I might mess up doing. I would number it wrong, or skip one, or somebody would distract me and I would go 2 or forget what one I was on. Yeah, it's pretty obvious here. But I still think going in and cleaning up would be a little bit better. And really, it just made the initial setting up of the lights much, much easier, especially if you have a lot of lights. So the real code would wind up being like this. You still have to add a little section up here. This was just so I have some information when I actually start working with the real machine. And you do need this section up here, because this tells the program, Mission Pinball Frameworks, that these are lights, and then everything else is. Now, I didn't indent this when I really should have done it the right way. Would be indent that too. This goes 2 past that, and this is equal to that. So basically that turns into this, and here's one right down there so you see it a little easier. That's a true example of what I just tried to do over here, except was that add one and one I added in. Anyway, hopefully that made somebody's life easier. It definitely made my life easier. Maybe I didn't explain it all too well, but it was a little easier for me anyway, to just have something non-human, definitely program this, because it's right, unless you messed up something, and like I was doing before. But it just made my life easier. So hopefully it'll make somebody else's life easier. Um, Again, if I didn't do the best job explaining this, my apology. But ask me a question in the comments. I'll definitely let you know. This is the code, but again, depending on how you lay this out, these numbers and letters might be slightly different. But if you use Excel, you kind of have some info already on this, so you should be more than halfway there. And again, I just found it easier to do it this way for me. Less mistakes down the line, or forgetting something, or when I added something in, forgetting to do it. And it was just a lot easier. That's really what I meant to say. So thanks for making it to the end, and hopefully this helps you. Bye.